Assalamu alaikum. As you can see, Sheikh, there's two new people here today. There's Amr, who's a friend of my good friend Sami Asl, and there's Muhammad, who's also a good friend of my friend Sami. And I just met them about a week ago.
And a friend of my friend is my friend.
Yes, exactly. An enemy of my enemy is my friend. So they know that we've been doing these little sessions on marriage. And Muhammad has signed the contract, but that's it. That's as far as he's gone. Yeah. And Amr is married with a child, correct?
MashaAllah. Yeah. Well, Muhammad, we wish you the best, inshallah.
Inshallah, in a couple of months, inshallah.
Inshallah. We've been talking actually about marriage and about, the rights of both the husband and the wife and so on. And I really wanted to talk about, the real happiness. A lot of people expect marriage life is always happy. No downs, always ups, which is not true. The eternal and the absolute happiness can be only found in one place, in paradise, not on earth.
Yeah, that's true.
Problems occurred during the life of the Prophet ﷺ with his wives at his house. So it's very possible to happen amongst ourselves.
Completely possible.
Exactly. So a person should keep in mind that, problems would happen, and have to be prepared as how to handle them. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, one of the great tabi'een, had a very righteous daughter, mashallah. Once she had finished the entire Quran, and she came to inquire about an ayah fi Surah Al-Baqarah. The ayah says, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Which reads in English as, the meaning of this ayah, our Lord, grant us a goodly reward in this life, and a goodly reward in the hereafter, and protect us from the fire of hell.
Ameen.
Allahumma ameen. As a matter of fact, this is one of the best applications ever.
Yeah.
So she said, Father, I perfectly understand what is the goodly reward of the hereafter, which is paradise.
Yeah.
But what about the goodly reward of this dunya?
The righteous life.
Exactly. People vary. Some people think that the goodly reward is to have a luxurious life, to have a house, to have, So Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the goodly reward of this life is the good wife, is to have a righteous one. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Ismail, may Allah have mercy on a man who wakes up at night to pray 2 rak'ahs. Then he awakens his wife. And if she's so sleepy, he will sprinkle some water on her face to get up and join him. And may Allah have mercy on a woman who gets up at night to pray. And she awakens her husband. And if he's so sleepy, she will sprinkle some water on his face so that they will get up and pray together. How beautiful is it to share those beautiful, blessed moments?
The opposite is my case. My wife throws some water in my face to wake me up. 5 more minutes, and then she comes and she hits me up.
Keep in mind that, especially the man, when you come back from work and you're extremely tired and so on, that as the Prophet ﷺ has said, that Satan ties 3 knots on the back of each one of us, saying that, you have a long night, go back to sleep. So when you get up and you say, Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana, praise be to Allah who revived us from death, and unto Him is the resurrection. You praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you remember Him. One of the knots will be undone. Then when you go and make wudu, the second one. And the third one, when you offer the prayer, then you will be fresh and active. The Prophet ﷺ has said that if a man and his wife get up at night and offer 2 rak'ahs, only 2 rak'ahs as minimum, the Prophet ﷺ has said that they will be written that night amongst those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala much, amongst الذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات. Oh Allah, make us amongst them.
Ameen.
So those beautiful moments when you share with your life mate, how excellent. What could be better than that? In my opinion, that is the real happiness.
Happiness is you'll find out. Happiness with your wife is something that kind of comes and goes sometimes. I mean, it depends on sometimes there's not enough bread, sometimes there's not enough of this, and there's issues that come along. But if you can achieve that kind of happiness, where it's a religious happiness, then we all should be cool with our wives.
You know, to achieve what you're talking about, ya Ismail, and you and your spouse have the same kind of understanding, you have to inquire an adequate religious knowledge. The Sayyidah Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, admired the women of Al-Ansar, saying, Rahim Allahu Nisa Al-Ansar. May Allah have mercy on the women of Al-Ansar, the supporters who received the immigrants from Mecca to Al-Madinah. Why? What did they used to do? Very special. She said that their shyness did not stop them nor prevent them from seeking the religious knowledge. They would come to the Prophet ﷺ and inquire about very, very touchy things, but they wanted to know. By acquiring this, that would give you enough ammunition to live a happy life in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah.
I think nowadays, you might agree with me or not, Amr, but there's a lot of people who are too shy to ask about these kind of things to make sure they can have a happy marriage, but they were asked to the Prophet ﷺ. The things that were brought to him, if you said it now in front of people, people would be very shy. They'd be like, oh, I can't believe you asked that. Why on earth did you ask me this? No. But they were asked to the Prophet, so it's a good thing for us to make sure that we ask these kind of things. And
remember, Ismail, the very first time we met, when we started talking about marriage, we said the Prophet ﷺ proposed for us the best choice. When he said that, فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ. So, choose the one who's righteous, who have religious commitment, or otherwise you would lose. That really helps, because she's the one who lasts. A lot of people who get married because of beauty, because of wealth, because of lineage, or whatever, with the first incident, with the first conflict, with the first, adversity, they break away from each other. And she leaves him. Why? Because she married him because he was rich, or he had a very high position, or handsome, or whatever. Sayyidah Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, once the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam received the first revelation, and he came shivering and said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, cover me, cover me. And he was very, very scared, because he had seen an angel, something which I have never seen before, nor even dreamt of. So as Sayyidah Khadija, during this very, very difficult time, she tried to calm him down and comfort him, saying, by Allah, Allah will never disgrace you. Why are you worried? By Allah, you are the one who upholds the ties of kinship. You are the one who helps the poor and bear the burdens of others. You are the one who honors his guest. So Allah would never disgrace you, standing next to her husband to support him and give him assurance. This is the kind of wife which every one of us needs.
I heard a cool story the other day from a friend of mine. He was telling me about, I'm not going to name the name of the country, but he was in a country and he saw a soldier who had lost both of his legs. And he said, so how's it going with you? How are things going? He said, well, everything's fine, but my wife left me. When I came back, she said, you're not a man anymore because you don't have this part of your body. So he remembered when he was a kid growing up in another country that was actually invaded by this country, that one of the fighters went and he lost both of his legs. And when he came back, he got to marry the most beautiful woman in the village who took care of him. Because there was a difference in what they were fighting for and what the differences in culture were. Yeah. They needed a wife that could take care of him and could be a righteous wife for him. Where in the other part of the world, they didn't care about this. He was no longer, his wife married him because of his looks and his strength. Yeah. And when he lost his looks and his strength, she wanted nothing to do with him.
And you're talking about the importance of searching for a righteous woman. What about the other qualities? Beauty, lineage, I can overlook them? Or
I remember saying that, well, if you can get all of that, you're the luckiest person.
You got the
but, unfortunately, no one is perfect. None of us is perfect. So do not expect to find one who has everything, or otherwise you will keep waiting until, inshallah, you get married for Madhurul Ain.
You'll be married when you're 70, 80 years old.
You have to accept the fact that every human being is born with some shortcomings. So,
except for me.
A lot of shortcomings.
Some I haven't.
Yeah.
The thing that I think is cool about the way Islamic marriages happen, is that you don't know each other. Like when I met my wife, I met her and I was married to her a week later, which I always thought was kind of cool. I wasn't this long romantic thing. It was like, now you have to live together. Now you have to find out who this person really is. Because all this, in the West, we have dating, and we have, you maybe live with them for 5, 6, 7, 10 years before you marry them. But in Islam, you just get married. And all of a sudden, you're thrown in to live with somebody. So now you have a whole new way of, how is this happiness going to happen? Do I know this person? I don't know this person. So you have to find what true happiness is, which is only in the deen. Only to find it through the religion of Allah.
If you allow me, Ismail, I know that's your house, but I would like to make a case here. Muhammad, how long you been married?
Since 16 months.
MashaAllah, you're fairly new. Whenever you have problems at work or in the street, where you cannot do anything and you're full of anger, then how do you feel? What are you looking for?
And I'm expecting to have, you may say it, a peace of mind at home.
What is the thing that relieves your anger and removes your burden?
Is it yelling at somebody, kicking somebody in the shin, stepping on a puppy?
Yes, sure.
What about going home and sharing your problem with your wife? Having a good listener to your problem, and maybe suggesting to you a solution, or
This
giving
helps
you
so
a
much,
good
in fact.
advice of being patient,
Yes.
or reminding you to ask Allah for forgiveness.
Even
or
Muhammad ﷺ used to ask his wives for advice, like the case of Salama.
Some say that you're not you can't go home with your problems. Once you get in your home, you have to remove your problems. Yeah.
In fact, this is not really true. The fact is that one is waiting for the moment that he would come home and unload and drop his loads of worries and frustrations, share with his best advisor. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said that the example of this ummah, the ummah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, this nation is like one single unit, one single body. Whenever any organ or a part of this body aims or complains, feels a pain, the entire body is aching with pain. What about a man and his wife, a wife and her husband, sharing and feeling the same? Sayyida Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she was sharing with Urwa ibn Zubair ibn al-Awwam an amazing story. She said that a month would pass by, and another month would pass by, and none of the houses of the Prophet ﷺ would kindle fire. And this is, a figure of speech metaphor, indicating that they would not even cook for 2 consecutive months. No cooked food whatsoever. But they were happy. Why? Because they were living with the Prophet ﷺ. Having a wife who's ready to go through adversities and hardships and support her husband, man, that is the best thing you can get in this life.
And believe me, your wife's going to come at you about her bad day. And she's going to want you to listen to what she has to say.
Yes, but let me ask a question here, please. We spoke about the righteous women, the righteous girl. How can I define, how can I define this righteousness?
Well, I would be very happy to discuss this with you and answer your question, but Ismail is very meticulous about time. So I think he's giving us a break right now.
Okay.
I guess I will. I have to go make wudu anyway, inshallah. So I'll go do that, and you guys can talk about this when I come back.
Inshallah.
Huda TV strives to bring you, our viewers, the best in Islamic programming. Please send your comments and suggestions to feedback at huda.tv.
Okay, I'm back. You can answer this question.
I know I owe Amr an answer for his question. Even though we have talked about that before, Yam, but I think it is very, very important to reiterate that. You know, once Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, came to visit his son Ismail. Prophet Abraham was in Jerusalem, and he, of course, you know that he left his son in Mecca when it was just a desert.
Yes.
So when he came to visit him, Ismail, mashallah, had grown up and he was already married. But he missed him. He wasn't there. So he noticed that Ismail had been married. So he talked to his wife about their life and how does she feel about it. She said, miserable. She said, how do you feel about it? She said, we're experiencing poverty, adversity, and hardship. Everything is terrible. He said, well, if this is the case, then when Ismail comes back, give him my greeting and tell him that Ibrahim says, change عتبة بابك.
Change your doorstep.
Change your doorstep.
Yes.
So she didn't understand, obviously, and she was an ungrateful wife. When Ismail came from his hunting journey, Ibrahim had left, and he sensed the fragrance of his father. He said, was there anybody here? She said, Naam, yes, an old man. And he said, what did he tell you? She said, he kept asking me about our life and how do I feel about it. And of course I told him that we are having a miserable life. It's very dry, we're experiencing poverty and so on. He said, so what did he tell you? He said, he mentioned something which I didn't understand. He said, change your doorstep. He said, well, the man who's here is my father. And his advice to me is to divorce you because you are ungrateful woman. Then later on, Ibrahim alayhi salam came to visit once again, and once again he missed Ismail. He was in home. Ismail had divorced his old wife and he got married to a newer one. Ibrahim had the same chat with the new wife and said, how's your life? She said, it's best. We couldn't thank Allah enough. We're having everything. We're experiencing luxury and etc. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was very happy. And he gave Ismail salam and he said, convey this message to him. Tell him that to keep firm your doorstep. ثبت عتبة بابك. As Ismail came back, he noticed that the same fragrance was here, and he asked his wife. She said that he came and he said such and such. He said, that was my father, and he said, keep your wife. She's a good, righteous wife. Well, we're not waiting to get married first, then figure out whether she's righteous or not. Having a girl who's born and raised in a righteous family, having righteous parents, pious ones, a girl who's religiously committed, she's wearing a proper hijab, she behaves outside as inside, hearing references from here and there is very, very important. The opposite of what most or many of the youth think, that if she looks pretty, that's it. This is all what I want. If her father is a manager or a president of this job or that business, that's it. So when you focus on any of the worldly things, this is what you get. When you focus on what Allah and His Messenger ﷺ recommended for you most, which is righteousness and piety, you get everything.
I'm gonna change the subject because that's the kind of fool I am. I just roll in and I do what I want because it's my house and I do what I want. But since we're talking about the righteous wife and getting married and everything, now most men have desires. They have, things they want to do with women. Now, there's only one way to satisfy these desires, and that's through a proper marriage. Is this the correct thing?
Absolutely. This is actually one of the most important goals of getting married. The Prophet ﷺ addressed the youth who are at the marriageable age, saying that, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, oh young men, whoever amongst you is capable to get married, let him get married. And if not, if he can't, then the Prophet ﷺ prescribed fasting. Why fasting? Because it's a shield. It protects him against those thoughts which crosses anybody's mind, especially at at this age, when you desire to have a relationship with a woman and you can't. So Nabi ﷺ prescribed fasting. So
in some cases, when you're fasting, your sexual desire increases. Some claim that.
No, that's not true. The opposite is true. Why? Because the desires are as follows. There is, the stomach desire, the desire of eating and drinking. Then there is the sexual desire. Then the desire of accumulating and piling up wealth. The priority or the precedence is for the food,
eat and drink.
Eat and drink.
That's what keeps you alive.
If a person is hungry and is starving, doesn't have time to think about
He's looking for
having a relationship or a husband-wife relationship, because he first needs to satisfy this desire.
Once he eats
so by breaking this desire and keeping yourself busy, of course, when you're fasting, you're closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you focus on pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that diverts your attention from that.
Is this the same? Should women
Absolutely.
also fast?
Absolutely. A lot of people assume that's only related to men because only men have that desire. That's not true. Women too have the same desire. Yes. So the Prophet ﷺ stated in one hadith that when a woman goes out, a shaitan beautifies her to tempt others. So the Prophet ﷺ said that if you ever see a woman who tempts you outside, then go home and fulfill this desire and suppress it by having a relationship with your lawful wife, because that is the only thing which would really suppress your desire. So keeping this in mind, when a person goes home and he wants to satisfy his desire in a lawful manner, and his wife, without a just reason, says no, you know,
big problem there.
you know, the Prophet ﷺ posed a great threat to a wife who would reject having,
them, right?
you know, the Prophet ﷺ said, if a husband invites or calls his wife to bed to have a relationship with her, and for no just reason she says no, out of arrogance, or she's not tired, she's not sick, she just doesn't want to, you know, comply with his request. بَاتَتْ تَلْعَنُهَا الْمَلَائِكَةِ The entire night the angels will be cursing her. Because this is one of the most important goals of getting married, to satisfy this desire in a lawful manner. The Prophet ﷺ, once he was talking about the charitable acts, the good righteous deeds, he counted one of them is وَإِنَّ فِي بُضْعِ أَحَدِكُمْ لَصَدَقَةً. And once you have a relationship with your wife, a husband-wife relationship, an intimate relationship, that's an act which provides you with a reward. You get rewarded for it. That's a charity. So the companions did like Amr right now. What? You know? This is cultural, by the way, that we avoid talking about things like that's like it's haram.
I'm
While
from
the
the
Prophet
West,
ﷺ addressed it in public. Yes. Not in the West, it's totally the opposite.
This is tame.
So the companions were astonished. They said, Ya Rasulullah, would one of us have a sexual relationship and he will be rewarded for that? The Prophet ﷺ proved his case in his statement, saying that, what do you think if this person fulfills his desire in an illegal manner, in adultery, with a wife who's not lawful for him, with a lady or a woman who's not his wife?
People start looking for rocks.
So, you're very violent.
I even heard that if you put a piece of food in the mouth of your wife, it is an act of charity as well.
What about a bite instead of a piece of wood? You know, when you feed your wife, when you clothe your wife, when you spend anything,
Put a house over
the
your
best spending you spend is the dirham, or the dollar, the money which you spend on your household and in your family members. So I said, what do you think if he does it in haram? Will he deserve to be punished?
head.
He said, definitely. He said, similarly, if he avoids the haram and fulfills his desire in a legitimate and a halal manner, he should be rewarded for that.
But what about the opposite case? What if the wife asks her husband to fulfill her desires and he may be tired, he may be sick, he may refuse?
This is very smart, especially coming from a man. This is very, very important.
You're a caring man.
Yes. A man should understand that they both have rights and they both have desire. So when, a man should not really wait for his wife to ask for it. Because coming from a lady is kind of very difficult, especially, the Eastern culture. So a man should understand his responsibilities and duties towards his wife as well. Not only when he feels that
he needs to,
no.
but maybe he feels
and
she needs
I'm
to.
sure we'll come to the point where we cover this all in details, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I want to go back to the story you mentioned at the beginning of the segment, the story of Abraham and Ishmael. What if Allah has given me an ungrateful wife who causes trouble? I'm instructed to divorce her, or can I bear and I'll get the reward?
Why would you divorce her?
Because she causes me problem and is ungrateful.
No, this story, number one, it happened with Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Two prophets of Allah.
Having the advice coming from one of the greatest prophets to another great prophet is different than having an advice from me to you. And if you really make the right choice beforehand, you will not have to end up filing for a divorce.
This story, though, I have a friend who's looking for a second wife. So I told him, I said, man, you got to go, and the first thing you have to do is find someone who's going to be grateful to you. Go to the village and find someone who has nothing. So whatever you give her, she's happy with. Because you assure yourself to have a grateful wife who's always going to be very happy with anything you provide for her. If you marry a very rich woman, then it's hard to make her grateful because she has everything. But if you marry a woman who's maybe a little poorer than you, then anything you give her is a great thing.
Yes.
And she's always grateful to her husband,
Yeah.
which is a pretty good thing.
So, just a quick reminder, if any of us is looking for ultimate happiness, that really does not exist on earth. You know, ultimate happiness is promised to have it, inshallah, in paradise. And the way to have this ultimate happiness is by finding a good assistance who would assist you to be a righteous man, to stay and remain steadfast on the straight path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and follow the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And trust me, that's extremely difficult to achieve without having the other half righteous as well. So, hasanatul dunya, the goodly reward of this life is
Righteous wife.
the good wife,
I would say my
who
wife
would
is better
definitely
than me.
lead you to the goodly reward of the hereafter, which is paradise.
Paradise. Yeah, I mean,
Allahumma ameen. And that's why there is a beautiful dua, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Our Lord, grant us from our spouses and our offspring a comfort of our eyes, a peace of mind, and make us the leaders of the righteous ones. Allahumma ameen.
But what about the verse that says, إِنَّ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ. Indeed, some of your wives and children are enemy for you.
Muhammad, you're camouflating your question.
Yeah,
I think I
'cause
have to go, and
it's time
perhaps,
to leave.
inshallah, next time we'll be
next
happy
week
to
you can
answer
hit that
this.
over. Yeah, that's a good question.
بارك الله فيكم, and I will
Oh,
see you
yeah.
next time, inshallah.
Inshallah.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-da.